Okay, day 6 of the Awan Contra trial. So what I'm going to do right now is just go through the complaint I'm going to file today. If you see anything that's glaring, tell me about it. I'll ask some questions along the way. But obviously going to be filing here in district court. As I mentioned before, there's going to be 435 Jane Doe and John Does that are going to be named later. I'm going to demand a jury trial against the DNC here. You can see Anthony Weiner, Huma Abedin, Theresa Grafenstein. You know all the other folks well. Defendants, of course, here's where we set jurisdiction, which is going to be squarely set in Washington, D.C. Now, I just need to make sure these U.S. codes are correct. I don't want to get those wrong and have a procedural error here. But these are the same procedural codes that Jared Beck used in his lawsuit, and props out to him for some of the things I took from that. But I believe there is proper venue here because all the people like Debbie Wasserman Schultz live here and have offices here, including all the conspirators, still to this day, and they all live in Virginia. So that's basically what it says. So when I outlined the parties here, I gave $30. It turns out 3 different donations of $10, so I thought it was 5, but anyway, I have standing as a DNC donor and as a Bernie donor. And then we're going to go through our defendants who all live in Virginia. I believe everybody's pretty much in Lorton, except Imran, who's at the Thomas Drive, but Lynette Drive, I think it's between the Lynette Drive and Thomas Drive. I think most of the people in the Springfield Thomas, the Hawks Head, and Lynette in Lorton. Okay, general facts are the DNC was frauded by the Awans through a series of sophisticated phishing attacks. This is the Act Blue to Act Blues. I think everybody knows about that. There's going to be injuries against classes. So we're going to outline 3 classes, or 4 classes really, different classes of DNC donors, and then also a class of citizens, which is anybody. So you're going to have various levels of standing depending on what class you're a part of. But this just goes through the CrowdStrike thing. It basically says that there's a false Russian narrative that's created by CrowdStrike and the DNC. I did not name CrowdStrike in the action. CrowdStrike is really just shadow FBI with Sean Henry. So here's the class action where I go through actually all the misdeeds. And here I'm defining the classes. Adequacy of representation. I do plan to go to an attorney once this gets heard. Now, the Beck case was at the end of June, and of course we have Seth Rich going to the White House the next day in reaction on July 1st last year. So it took a year, and they never got to discovery. So I'm not expecting to go to discovery right away. So don't worry about any problems here, but I'll explain later why this is important. So the first count is fraud. Obviously, this is going to be fraud. This is the Act Blue to Act Blues, which everybody knows about. And this is the fun part because it all kind of comes together. All the research, all the hard work, all the legwork, everything kind of comes together now in very solid accusations that you know are true. You have very good cause to believe that are true. Okay, well, they're true. So anyway, here's the different classes I talk about. I obviously don't care if I win the $30 or not, but it gives me standing to get all the documents. The second count is going to be breach of fiduciary duty. I'm leaving Grafenstein off the first count, but I am adding Grafenstein here to the second count, which all the other conspirators are involved in the first count. Grafenstein's only involved in count 2 and 3, which is breach of fiduciary duty. She knew that there was wrongdoing. She's Inspector General. She's supposed to be doing something about it. She's supposed to make it public anytime you have a situation. So we're going to fix constituent here. Anytime you have a situation where you know somebody's breaking the law, and it could be a matter of national security. So I've gone through all these with you before. I've gone through this document a couple of times. But you can see here, the key allegation, this email Dropbox combination of 123 mail.house.gov, along with the Dropbox, creates this information pipeline of terabytes going to Pakistan and UAE, maybe other countries as well, but there for sure. It's a pay-to-play scheme now that Houmet Abedin is involved in, and now this information is being taken from the DNC servers, this NGP van information. That's why it's so important that we did the thing with Dr. Corsi, so you know what NGP van is and what information that contains. Those can, most importantly, contain the emails, and those are going to be the thing I use to do the phishing attacks on the Bernie folks and the Bernie Krat candidates, okay? Then I talk about how the Blackberries are distributed around the congressional offices, Rayburn, Longworth, Cannon, and Library of Congress, how those laptops are synced to an illegal private server, an enterprise server, and that enterprise server then links to a series of enterprise servers all over the country. The only one I'm focusing on right now is the Brooklyn enterprise server. As I said before, this is much like a franchise. There's going to be one of these in the Navy Yard. McAuliffe's going to run that. There's going to be one of these in Brooklyn. That's going to run the Brooklyn to Montreal rat line. In the disclosures last night with Uranium One, all you're going to hear about is just the Brooklyn to Montreal rat line. I guarantee it. It's going to be quiet. You're not going to know that it's Condrey, or you're not going to know that it's Lambert, the trucking CEO. You're not going to know. He's going to quietly talk to different people inside Congress. Anyway, this is where you're going to give your Blackberries out. You don't. It's much like you don't need you need the senator and you need one representative in any given rat line usually. New York may be a little bit different, but the idea is control the legislature, control the judicial, like Schneiderman up in New York, control the legislature with you've got you've got Schumer, and then control the key port cities where you have Crowley and Yvette Clark. I saw Yvette Clark last night. It was good seeing her. Look, very nice lady. So anyway, we're going to go here's the CDW orders. There's going to be many CDW orders that we're going to end up looking at, not just the one of 150 iPhones. You're going to be looking at all the secure Blackberries before that. I do believe people in the conspiracy worked at DISA. I just didn't name them. That could come out in this lawsuit, the fact that DISA is being infiltrated here. So, espionage, etc. So, we're into I've mentioned all the things basically I mentioned in those motions that I've filed earlier in the criminal court. That's what's beautiful about this, is that everything is reused. There's not one thing that isn't reused. Maybe the word motion isn't reused, and we put the word complaint in its place. Then the prayer for relief, I decided to go, most important thing is immediately getting Rayo Abbas out of the network and immediately publishing all the reports for the American people. That's the most important. For compensation, I threw that into the lap of the judge, just like Jared Beck did. It turns out he didn't ask for $300 million. That was what was reported, but he asked for a compensatory judgment that would show that would make an example out of the person. So I'm going to do that same thing. Again, I don't really want to have a $300 million number out there where people say, "Oh, this is a person who's just gold bricking, going on a fishing trip, hoping to make money." What I really want is exposure of the documents. That's key, and then ending Rayo Abbas's daily access, the spying in Congress.